Good morning, everyone. How many of us want to be world changers? Raise your hands. How many of us want to change the world around you? Raise your hands. All right. My second question. Please raise your hands. Put your hands down. The second question. I won't ask too many. Normally, a question-answer session is kept for the end, but I like to start the session with a question, another question. How many of us have dreamt of what we will be 30 years from now? Can you raise your hand? Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm so excited. I'm glad I'm speaking to you. Please put your hands down. I'm going to share with you my journey, my future, as I saw it as a child. And I hope what I share with you today will inspire you. I'm talking about India Dreams 2047. That's 28 years from now. And I want to talk about a path for us 28 years from now. You know why 2047? Because I'm sure if I ask a question, how many of us were born before 1947 or in the year 1947, there wouldn't be a single hand up. I wasn't. And so I missed our Independence Day, and I am praying to God that I would live to see the year 2047 when our nation becomes 100 years since we gained our freedom. Would you? Wouldn't you? So let's plan towards that. But I want to start at the time when I was 3 years old. And when I was 3, and that's the first thing I remember, is that I was flying on a plane with my mother, with my little sister, not yet born. And my mother took me to the cockpit, and I saw these two men in the cockpit. They were pilots. And I tell you, they became my instant heroes. From the age of 3, I wanted to be a pilot. And guess what? I still haven't lost that dream. And I'll tell you my story as I move forward. But talking about dreams, how many of us dream? All right. Now, do you dream in the night? Yes? Okay. You know what? I also dreamt, but I'm sure some of us would identify with what I'm saying. I was an expert at dreaming in the daytime. I was a daydreamer. My mother would be called by my teachers very often to school to say, you know what, your son is very distracted in class. He keeps looking out of the window. I wish he was more attentive. So my mother would ask and say, did you check and ask him questions? She says, the funny thing is, we ask him questions and he answers everything. What she observed was that I was observant, I was looking out, I was exploring the world beyond the window, but I was observant, I was listening. She continued to encourage me to dream. And ever since I can remember, I've been a dreamer. That was age 7. When in my school, in an auditorium like this, they would quite often, the school would engage us in watching films. And one day, I was watching a film. It was a very strange film, because normally films I was exposed to were in color. But this film was in black and white. And it looked like it was an aged film. And here in the film, I saw an old man walking along with other men, walking very fast. But I found this old man walking faster than the young people around him. And a thought struck me. And I said, when I become old, I want to walk like the way this old man walked, as young and agile, or even better than the other youngsters around him. Later I learned the man that I was watching was Mahatma Gandhi. When I further did my research, I learned that he had at a very young age a habit of walking, taking long walks. I, from that age, began to take long walks, brisk walks, 12-kilometer walks. Till today, I continue. These are dreams that are good to keep for a lifetime. It encourages us, it shapes us, it forms our character. As I grew up, that dream I told you about being a pilot turned to be, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot. Well, guess what? I was 14 when I exited in Bombay, you have school up to 10th standard. And then you move, yes, some of us are from Mumbai. And then you move into college, junior college, when you're in 11th. And I had a decision to make because I wanted to be an Air Force pilot, and I had to apply when I turned 16, and I was only 14. So I decided to take science, and I needed maths and physics. So I was in the science college in Wilson College, finished my 12th standard by 16, and lo and behold, my father, at 16, I realized, didn't want his only son to be enrolled in the National Defense Academy. My dream crashed. Let me tell you, life is all about dreams and crashed dreams. It's also about how we reinvent ourselves and pick ourselves up. At the age of 16, I learned to do that. I remember I was out of my home with my textbooks and notebook, and I went and sat down in a place called Dadar in Mumbai. There's a place called Five Gardens, and in that Five Gardens, there was a tree, and I sat down. Let me tell you, I wept. I was heartbroken. There was anguish and there was pain. But in that time that I spent under the tree, there was inspiration too. And it was at that time that I wrote my first 5-year plan. I do not know how I started it, but it's inspired. And I had to keep that diary for the next 5 years. I had to keep it with me every month, every year for the next 5 years, because I was determined to be the person I wrote I would be. And that's what planning is all about. We want to change the world, let's write down how, and I'll come to that later. I had to take strategic decisions. I was doing science. I couldn't do science. I wanted to develop certain skills. You know, I'm speaking to you in public right now, but let me tell you, as a young boy, I was a shy young boy. I couldn't talk. Let me tell you, I couldn't talk to girls. Okay, in college. I was really that painfully shy, talking about when we were 16 years old. Now, I'm a transformed man. I had to develop a few skills then, and I decided to work part-time jobs while I was studying. I moved on. I planned to be a banker, and I worked in Canara Bank International Division for 5.5 years. I had my exposure. At Canara Bank, there was a man I met. His name was B. Ratnakar. He was the chairman and managing director of the bank. He was the youngest banker managing director that India has ever produced. I became his instant fan. You won't believe it. I wrote down on my card, I dreamt that one day I would be the youngest chairman and managing director of my bank. A dream that I wrote down in a card form. All right? It's good to write down dreams. But guess what? Life took another turn, and I spent 2 years working for an NGO, a not-for-profit called CRY, Child Relief and You, another life-shaping moment. But I did go on in my late 20s to start up a company of which I became the managing director, which grew to a 22-city operation, and which had hundreds, close to 1,000 employees. That is a story I want to stop at. And I want to share with you the next point. The first point is be inspired. Have heroes in your life. I'm sure you have heroes, and you've met them in your life. Find them. Search out for them. Seek them. If they are heroes who are alive, spend time with them. Know more about them. If they are heroes in textbooks of history, go and do a little more research. I was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, and my walks, my daily walks, yesterday I had a walk with my friend Shantanu. This comes back from that childhood dream of being as agile and fit as this old man in the film that I saw. I have read, just imagine you are an arrow. Before you go forward to 2047, imagine you're holding a bow and an arrow. You need to pull yourself through the string. Take yourself back in history. Take yourself back in history and learn from the great nation builders and nation contributors, the great heroes that we can learn from. This is your opportunity. Get inspired by those who have passed on and built this nation who are no more, from those who are in the process of building the nation who are alive today. Take this opportunity. Grasp it. I'm in the process of writing a book, and I'll share this with you. I'm going to write a book that has inspired me, the contents of which has inspired me, and I hope when it's ready and you read it, it'll inspire you. I'm writing a book on the 100 greatest Indians that India has produced over the last 100 years. One man out of these 100 heroes of mine is a man who was born poor, and it's a story of a boy born on the banks of the river Ganges, or the river Ganga, and who grew to be a prime minister. He's none other than Bharat Ratna, our second prime minister, Bharat Ratna, Lal Bahadur Shastri. The one thing that I realized about this young boy's life, and as he grew to be a man, and until his dying day, was that he was faced with numerous challenges. But he didn't give up. He found a way to surmount the challenges. I didn't yet ask you about the challenges that you face in life, but I'm glad that you identify with the challenges that the world faces. I heard about environment. I heard about water. These are serious issues. Okay? There's one thing I want to leave today, and that is, when you make a plan for your life for the next 30 years, make sure that you align it with a higher cause. That higher cause could be your nation. That higher cause could be your community. But ensure that it's aligned. India Dreams 2047. Make clear plans. Make absolutely clear plans. When I look at our nation, when I look at the next 28 years, 2047, when I look back at the last 72 years of our independence, I think we've achieved a lot as a nation. Okay? When I look at my own childhood and your childhood, I say, wow, we've achieved a lot in these many years since I was a 16-year-old. All right? And when I listen to you, I say, wow, that's progress in our nation, just in these few years. In 72 years, there's much more progress. But when I look at 2047, I can't help but realize that there's so much left to be done. There's so much need in our nation, and some of you have spelt that need out. Someone talked about environment, someone talked about water. 25% data shows, 25. We need freedom. You know, we've fought for our freedom and we've got it. We admire our freedom fighters. But I want to inspire you to be a freedom fighter. Freedom fighter from what? Freedom from poverty. Freedom from illiteracy. There's still 25% of India, data shows, that is illiterate. Freedom from thirst. 12% of our nation do not have access to drinking water. Freedom from hunger, from malnutrition. 50% of our nation, or close to that, are undernourished. We need freedom from various issues that our nation faces. Corruption is one of them. Who's going to stand up? Who's going to be freedom fighters? May I see hands up? If you genuinely feel so, if you'd like, take one cause, just one cause, as you heard earlier, you can be the change agent. You can be a leader. Remember, it's first you lead yourself. Yesterday you were not planting trees for environment, but today I shall plant my first sapling. It just starts that way. All right? Make clear plans. Commit yourself to them. Write it down and make yourself accountable. Let me just share with you what I have decided. I was inspired over these years to do something for my nation and for our people, and I'm glad. When I got a call from Ritu ma'am asking me to come here, I said, yes. Ritu, did I hesitate? I don't think so. You know why? Because I had already written my plan. I had written 100 cities of India. Jaipur was one of them, and I was so excited. Thank you, Ritu, for the call. And I said, yes. There's a 100-city plan I have made to reach out, the 100 top cities, 100 smart cities. Jaipur is one of them. And then beyond that, I will go to 745 district headquarters. There's also 40 cities overseas, which has the maximum concentration of the Indian diaspora. I have a plan. I have a dream. I'd like to involve you in that dream. India Dreams 2047. Can you be a part of my dream? I can't do it alone. I've dreamt it, but it's not my dream alone. I've dreamt it for each one of us. I've dreamt it for the rest of the country. I'm going to share it out. Wherever I go, I'm going to talk about it. Commit yourself to these plans. Commit yourself, and you will succeed. Be accountable. Yeah, that's a good science. 3 minutes. I like the Indian joint family system. You know, we heard about it. Some families are very fortunate to still live as a joint family. There's accountability. There's values that are inculcated and transferred. And if you don't find yourself in a joint community, let me share this with you to encourage you. I was born in a nuclear family. It's just my dad, my mom, my little sister, and myself, a small unit. But in school, we were taught that India is my nation and all Indians are my brothers and sisters. That makes you my brother, my sister. I've got 1.3 billion big family. Isn't that great? Now, that's what we've got to learn. We've got to learn from each other. As long as we have a learning attitude and we're accountable, we'll get there together as a nation in 2047, where they will say, wow, great Indians of great India. And the last point, in summary, complete your plans. Be a finisher. All right? What does it take to finish it? Number one, be inspired. Look for heroes in your life. Past, present. You know what? I'm making a list of 100 greatest Indians. This is in 2019. There's going to be an annual edition every year. One day, I hope some of you would be considered by the jury to be included in that list someday as we go along to the year 2047. Make clear plans. Commit yourself to those plans. When I said I dream, now let me just redefine it. I said I dream, most of us dream in the night. I also dream in the night. But I also said I'm a daydreamer. I feel I've done a PhD in daydreaming. Sorry, I think all of us should do, okay? But now I'm talking about a third quality of a dream. A dream that will make us have sleepless nights, that will cause us into action. Let me tell you, I have sleepless nights over my plan. The plan needs to have 3 P's. One is positive, one is possible, and the third is personal. When you make a plan, don't say my father will do it, or my society will do it, or my government will do it. Don't pass the buck. The 4th P I don't want, the passing of the buck, because the buck stops with me. The buck stops with us. Make it positive. So I asked a little girl, what would you like to do when you are in 2047? What would you like to see? And she says, I want to be able to look up in the sky and see the stars. Not in the hill station I go for my holidays, but here in Gurgaon. What was she talking about? She was talking about pollution, a negative connotation. But how did she talk about it? Very positively. Be positive. Number 2, what will you do about it? I will try and find solutions. But I will start by planting trees. Excellent. Possible action plans. Personal action plans. Doable action plans. Okay? So positive, possible, personal. Make it happen with you. And the 4th thing, ask her what will you do as the years go by. I will tell my friends and get them along to plant trees. Now that's building leadership. It's influencing others. Starts with self. Thank you very much. And I hope thank you. And I wish each one of you a great future as you go ahead and discover your future you.